Well, hello, everybody. I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and I'm here for a very special evening edition of Skipping Lunch, which I'm sure someone will come up and say that they have to skip dinner, which is already there. And actually, I already have a comment. King Eric of all, skipping dinner. Thanks, Eric. I anticipated that you were going to do it. In fact, let's just show that on screen right there. There you go. You won, Eric. There you go. First comment tonight too. I am really happy to have a special guest on tonight, Doug Shute of Victory Condition Gaming. I met him back at PAX Unplugged. We were talking a little bit before we went live tonight, and I'm really excited to talk about his experiences in getting involved in the TTRPG industry, how he's gone about trying to make a living out of all this, and really the fact that this is a passion project for him where he is as he described, and I'll let him tell the story because he can do it much better than me. He gets to make a living helping people seek out and enjoy fun, which is, I mean, that's like the dream right there. But before we get to my interview, and sorry to make Doug wait a little bit, I do want to highlight a Kickstarter that is out right now. It is a very small Kickstarter, very petite. I can't even think of it. It's like it's not this huge blown thing like Cobalt Presses making $1 million. This is just a cool little TTRP that's very narrative focused, called Night. It is got 5 days to go. They're only trying to raise. Let me get over to that tab. They're only trying to raise $3,300 or $3,382. They're at $3,123 right now, and it's a very inexpensive Kickstarter. So you pledge $14 or $28 Australian, $14 American. You can get the PDF, and I think you also get the digital and hardcover for $40. So it's not that much to buy in. And get back to me here. And the PDFs are already done. So it's a very low risk kickstarting reward. I'm actually going to back this at least for the PDF as soon as I get done from here. I only got $200 to make it. I want them to really get over the hump. But it's a low risk because the PDFs are done, and whether or not they fulfill the Kickstarter or not, they're going to be able to release the PDFs for sale at very least. And they're only $200 away from their goal. They're from Australia. I don't hear a lot of development coming out of Australia. It'd be nice to help a smaller developer do something that's really cool. It is narrative focused, and I put a review in the stream link below by a friend of mine. Daddy Rolled a One is his YouTube and Twitter handle. And he did a great review just going through the general gist of the game. So if you're into like a narrative style game, talking about being a knight, you could probably tell from the cover. It is not going for full historic, full historic. We're going to be the history knights. It's like play whatever gender, whatever type of character that you want in this world. So it's a lot more freewheeling than open for people to enjoy as they will. So if you're interested in a Kickstarter, want to back a smaller developer from down under, and they're only $200 away from their goal, throw them a couple bucks and help them get to there. I would love to be able to do that. I just found out about it this week, and I wasn't able to do a review or even read a review copy, which I have not gotten yet. I haven't gotten one at all. I wasn't able to do that, so I wanted to promote it on the stream tonight so that if folks were interested, they could back it and help out a smaller developer, which is really good. And that is my only preamble for the night because I have to get to a conversation with my guest for tonight. Everybody say hello, Doug.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just backing a Kickstarter that someone suggested.
Were you watching a live stream from somewhere tonight?
Yeah, I know. I was this West guy was suggesting this night Kickstarter, and so I figured,
that is bad. I wish it was like I wish we were doing the portrait orientation stream so I could turn that into a short for YouTube. That was perfect. And let's see, King Eric, you're going to find that King Eric of all does some of the most bizarre comments through the entire stream.
I love it.
And his current one is, will the PDF be upside down?
I think it has to be, right?
It absolutely has to, and the water has to go down the drain, and all the reports the same way, which is good. He says hello, by the way. That was awesome. So thanks for being on, Eric. Great to have you as always. I'm trying to keep the stream or the chat open, guys. I am on EV Mooks tonight. I'm not on OBS, so I can throw your comments out on the stream. So be very careful because I'm not nice. So for folks, we were talking a little bit before. I met Doug at PAX Unplugged this past December. We were all masked. You meet probably 1,000, if not more, people during these events. I mean, PAX. If you've never been to PAX Unplugged, it's huge. I mean, it's 3 city blocks of stuff. And the vendor area is like a full city block of stuff, which is, and I'm not even exaggerating. When I went in, my mind was blown.
Oh, it's huge.
And I bumped into you on Saturday right around noon, and I was looking for a bundle for Forbidden Lands, which is in my shot. It's like actually like right out of the shot up here. And I wanted to get the PDF print and Foundry VTT bundle, which was not technically on sale there. And you helped me out.
I hooked you up with the Foundry, right?
You hooked me up with Foundry, and you got me the thing, and you threw in.
Now I do remember. I remember doing that. Now that
good.
Yeah, because I don't do that for everybody, you know, Wes. Just VIPs.
VIPs, yes. Streamers who had. I think I had like one. I was just like over the monetization. I think it was like 1,008 subscribers at that point.
That's awesome.
So I'm the big name in the local TTRPG space. But it was great to have. I actually, the bags. If you've never been to a Free League booth, like just buy something just to get the bag, because the bags are stunning. I mean, they're really cool. But I was, from that moment on, I really wanted to spend some time just chatting with you, because you were really encouraging to me in that spot. I remember you talking to me about, I was a streamer, like just getting started in streaming before. I know how hard it can be. And you treated me with a lot of kindness that you didn't have to do. You cordial, respectful. You expect that. It was the kindness that really kind of threw it over for me. And so I've been following your videos. If you ever want to go to Victory Condition Gaming's YouTube channel, which I think I put in the description. If I didn't, I will fix it. Doug does live streams, some reviews, and I think one of your coolest series is when you show your experience of how the background of being involved at the
conventions.
At the conventions, like the one from Boston was great. Like, here's how we get here, and this is where we park, and that was like I don't know why this is so riveting, but I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting.
Good to know. I'm always wondering if those are interesting to people, because I'm just like, who really wants to watch us being ridiculous behind the scenes at conventions?
I thought it was like, because you can't record on the convention floor, so we never see you doing the work. We just see everything that leads up to it and afterwards. And I'm like totally totally fixated on it. Of course, I'm also the person who does reviews of games and spends like the first third just looking at the layout. Sure. So, and the book instructions. So I might not be the general core audience. But I wanted to talk with you tonight because you make your living in the TTRPG space. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about how first you got involved in TTRPGs.
Well, I mean, I guess it all kind of goes back to, I started out doing YouTube content with my daughter. My daughter was 8 or 9 at the time, which was 7, 8 years ago at this point.
Nice.
Yeah, probably 8 years ago. And we did, my daughter had, we had an interesting situation with my daughter where she was very advanced. She was a very advanced reader. Like she went into kindergarten with an 8th grade reading level. She was very, very she basically had her own reading group in kindergarten, which was interesting.
You nerded her out from the start.
I wish I could take credit for it. I don't think it's probably her mom. Mom's probably the reason for that. I don't think it's anything from this side of things.
We'll say thanks, Mom. We're good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. but she was having problems with math and some social skills, and so we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we improve on some of these areas, and and we realized that I kind of sat down and I'm like, oh, you know what, some board games would be pretty neat. Let's have her introduce some board games and kind of get some of that stuff going, and try to make it a little more fun, because we've all done I don't know, Wes, if you grew up with, but doing flashcards and math flashcards that was just the worst. Nobody wants to do those as a kid, and so
they're evil.
how do you make that type of stuff fun? And so we're like, okay, well, let's do some board game stuff. Let's kind of get some critical thinking and some math and all, some of those skills down. And one time I'm like, you know what, this would be pretty neat to make a YouTube video for, and we'll kind of get her thoughts on, on a board game, on playing this game, and
so she's doing the review for.
Yeah, we're kind of doing it together, and nobody at that time, nobody really had. I mean, there was board game reviewers, but nobody was really doing it with,
with kids,
a young, especially a young female.
Yeah.
And so, we kind of made a little bit of a mark, as we posted a video here and there. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's do this a little bit more often. And so we started doing more and more, and then eventually, with kids, making YouTube videos with dad isn't the coolest thing to do anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, okay. So I kind of knew that was only going to have so much of a shelf life to it.
Gotcha.
So eventually, she was like, nah, I don't really want to do this anymore. And that's fine. I'm not going to force, my kid to make content. Right. But I realized that I needed to kind of pivot and figure out, at that point, there was a whole bunch of board game content on YouTube. It was,
right.
Watch It Played was very big. That tabletop was huge.
Will Wheaton's one.
Will Wheaton. And so I'm just like, do I want to go down this alley and make tabletop or make board game content? And I'm like, no, I mean, that's just, you're going to be swimming uphill, so upstream is fighting against the current.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I looked and I saw that, oh, you know what? Tabletop role-playing games don't really have a huge presence on social media, and nobody was really that was before Critical Role was kind of
so thing. When is this? Is it like 2015?
This was 2015, 2016.
Okay, so it's like Critical Role is just about to hit, and tabletop RPG, because I came in back to the hobby in 2020, so I don't know this. Yeah. So it just exploded after that, even in the all the YouTube space.
So there was tabletop role playing games, and I started getting more and more into it, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, because I grew up with, I was telling you before stream, I didn't grow up with D&D. I couldn't grow up with D&D. My parents wouldn't let me play it because not to go into too much details, but it was the whole satanic panic thing.
Yeah.
They thought that D&D was Mork Borg, what Mork Borg is right now, and how that looks. And, they thought that was what we were playing. But it's
and then you have Star Wars, which is like, well, how is that better? I don't know.
Yeah. So I was allowed we loved Star Wars in my house. We were able to play and I still have the Star Wars West End games, the role playing games. So that was because Space Wizards, I guess, are okay to play.
Well, they don't call him wizard, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
So I remembered that I used to play that a lot, and so I went and I was looking up our tabletop role playing games that weren't D20s, because at that point D20 systems, anything that wasn't D&D was kind of rare, because it was even right before like that 5e started just taking things to another level. And I came across Free League's Kickstarter for Mutant Year Zero. And and that was their first Kickstarter for the North American market. And I missed the Kickstarter.
Gotcha.
I missed the backer kit. I missed everything.
Okay.
But I loved everything that I saw, and I'm like, oh, I want to pick up a copy of this, because it reminded me a lot of Star Wars, because you use a D6 system, all that.
D6, yeah, okay.
because of the year zero engine. So I picked up a copy of that, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is an amazing product. I'm like, what else have these people? What else have they put out? And I said, they hadn't really put anything else out at that point. And so, you know, their follow-up game was
Yeah.
a game called Coriolis. And at that
Which
point, it's another really phenomenal game. And I kind of reached out to them at that point, and I'm like, hey, you know, I do this YouTube thing. I'm kind of trying to get into the tabletop RPG space. I'd love to have you on. Love to, you know, just, I'm really excited about your products. I think you're doing some really great stuff. I want more people to know about it, because I think you're gonna, you know, the more people that realize what you're putting out, I think you're just gonna win more and more people over. And so yeah, eventually they came on, and you know, they kept on doing more and more products, and I kept on reaching out to other creators, and it just kind of just kept building after that.
There you go.
But,
and the rest is history. When did you come on board? So you work for Free League now. Like, so what is your official title for them?
So I am, much like a lot of people in this space, we all kind of wear lots of hats. I am the content director, so I do their YouTube content, and I also do their US and North American market events. So I do a lot of retail shows. I do a lot of conventions. And I try to advise them. You know, I've got a sales and marketing background, so I've kind of tried to assist them and kind of make suggestions on how they should, you know, move pivot into the US North American market a little bit more, and how they can kind of market a little bit, you know, to that audience. But you know,
they're a growing company. I mean, just the sheer brand recognition at this point is huge, as I forgot to turn myself on to do not disturb. And they picked up some incredible properties the last couple of years.
The funny thing was, like, one of my first, I did an interview a few years ago, back before I started working for them, and after they did Coriolis, and after they did a couple other Kickstarters, and I said on the podcast, I said, if Free League ever gets a big IP, they're going to make a huge splash in the tabletop role-playing space.
Gotcha.
Like, if they grabbed on an IP that people are going to recognize, that's just going to put them to another level. And and you know, shortly after they announced that they got Alien, and sure enough, you know, Alien just kind of kept that ball rolling for them, which is pretty neat. You know, they've also, you know, they've had success early on.
Lord of the Rings. You got Lord of the Rings.
Blade Runner.
Shadowrun.
Not Shadowrun.
You don't have Shadowrun? Who picked up Shadowrun now? No, I thought somebody picked. I thought you guys picked up
we put out Cyborg for the Cartel. That's
right. Okay, that's what I'm getting confused at.
And then we also did We just kickstarted Walking Dead a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I forgot about the Kickstarter. Yeah, so it's been fun to watch them grow. And you know, for me, I grew up D&D. I started Mold Bake Cook. So D20 is what I know. And then I ventured out to do phase rip with Marvel superheroes. And so I had a D100 with a table and a D20. So the D6 concept is new to me. But I think Free League has started a revolution, because there's so many D6 systems that are popping up now. You've got Powered by the Apocalypse. You've got Easy D6.
Tiny D6, which was
Tiny D6
from Gallant Knight Games.
Yep. So and more, and even beyond that, I think the idea of the dice pool is really gaining steam in a lot of places too. Blood and Doom uses a D10. Coyote and Crow uses a D12. And so that idea of dice play, and with the Candela Obscura is a D6 system that's kind of like
it is. Yeah, I just downloaded
in the dark, and that's a really neat game, which is really kind of fun. So it's been interesting to see how this outside, because they're not North American based, has come in and affected so much of the industry, and you've had a hand in that. So
I don't know if I've just kind of been
you're not in
probably.
charge, but
Yeah,
you pat
I
yourself
kind of,
back a little bit.
I kind of champion them a little bit and just give them props as to, they're doing some really cool stuff. But I mean, I think the whole industry, is doing some really great stuff. I mean, you've got companies like Chaosium doing some really awesome things. You've
Yeah.
got, Magpie. I'm a huge fan of what Magpie's doing lately. I think that
I
they've got
need to
some really
review
cool.
Avatar. It's
Oh,
really
it's
cool.
so good.
Yeah.
And
Powered
I'm
by
not
the
a huge
Apocalypse
Avatar.
Powered by the Apocalypse is one of those games where I think I'd rather play than run.
Yes, I agree.
So that was my big struggle with it. I did a Dungeon World one shot with a guy who was running it for us for my group, and I adored it, but I just don't think I would run it. But their game, if you haven't seen Magpie stuff yet, I mean their layout, their design, everything's beautiful. It really is. Yeah, it's a great time to be gaming.
Right?
And ironically, when Wizards of the Coast went insane in January, they only accelerated the great things about gaming. Everybody hit the accelerator and went off and did their own thing. So it's really kind of cool.
It's
Yeah. And so you also do some streaming, right?
So I do. So yeah. So I do. Yeah, I also do podcasts, YouTube streaming type of thing, and I stream on. Sometimes I just stream on Twitch. Sometimes I just stream on YouTube. But I try to cover. I've tried to cover all sorts of different publishers, not just Free League stuff, because
Right.
I try to, like I said, I'm a big fan of just this whole industry in general. I think we're all like nobody creates and publishes and makes tabletop role-playing games to become rich. Like that's not like we're there to create a game, to get people at the table, to have fun, to create stories together, to create experiences together. That's why we do this.
Right.
And
Because we want something to play, so we make it.
Exactly.
Right.
So there's just so many people that have creative, ideas for games, and they're going to Kickstarter or they're going, some sort of crowdfunding website. And a lot of times those creators, they've done a very good job of developing and going to Kickstarter with a product that's pretty much finished.
Yeah.
They just need to get that next, they need to get over that hump. And they've spent all that time doing so. They haven't really been able to focus on this social media side of things because they've been so focused on, because a lot of these publishers, a lot of these developers are only one or two or three people, companies.
Yeah.
And there's only so many resources that can go around. So, I hopefully when people come on and I reach out to them, I'm able to kind of tap them into an audience that might be interested in what they've got to offer. And I think that's, I hope that that's helpful to them. And just like you're just trying to, connect people with games that they might enjoy.
And it's and like you went, it's fun.
Right. Like how we all want to work at a job where you enjoy going to work every day and you enjoy what you do. So.
Yep. All right. I got two questions from the chat. And folks, I did get a bandwidth notification, so if the audio or the video is choppy, I do apologize. But let me share this real quick. Doug and I are having a great time. Does Doug? I mean, this you pretty much answered. But does Doug follow board game news? I see a bunch of board games behind him.
Yeah, I might have. I might have a problem.
Yeah, I've got small problem.
Yeah. I there's like if you put out a really fun minis game, like even like a mini skirmish game or a mini tabletop game, like a board game.
Okay.
I usually at least look at it while it's on Kickstarter, and yeah, I've got let's just put it that. Yes, I do.
Nice. Have you ever heard of Low Fantasy Gaming, the game?
Yes, I have heard of that.
Okay, they just put out a board game. So now I'm feeding your addiction. I need to go. You're playing a wizard. I don't play many board games. My 5-year-old loves them, so I should start picking them up. So I haven't picked it up yet. They just got funded, I want to say back in the winter time.
Okay.
but reach out to them. They're fun. I did Low Life 2090 and Low Fantasy Gaming reviews for them.
Oh, nice.
Really good stuff. They're really good designers.
I'll have to
So if
check
you're
it out.
interested in that, check that out. See what you do, King Eric. You make us spend money.
Hey, it's only fair, right? I mean,
It's hey,
it's a two-way street here.
we're not all taking, right? And then the other one is, I guess we can both answer this just from history. Was TSR the first to introduce polyhedral dice for a role-playing game? Yes, I think they were.
I think
Although
so,
it wasn't OD&D was originally just a D6 because that's all you could get.
Oh,
at least I
maybe.
think. I know. I mean, originally every weapon did D6, and you differentiated by using chainmail. Which I just Daddy Rolled a One just did a review of chainmail, and I was like, oh no, he didn't do that. Who did that? Someone just did a review of the chainmail rules for combat. I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting because it's like now suddenly a dagger is different than a sword. That's really cool, which is fun. So those are the two things. Oh wait, no, we got one more. Oh, okay. Here, the reason why is because folks who do follow it, Renegade Studios picked up Axis and Allies and Heroescape IPs.
Yeah, because Heroescape was on HasLab.
And they aborted a reboot of it, right?
So it didn't quite get the following that they had hoped, and it looked really well developed while it was on that Kickstarter, on that HasLab, website. And I was like, oh, there's no way they're just going to abandon this. Like, they've put too much money into this. Like,
they're going to try to recap it somehow.
Yeah, you knew that was going to probably come out in some way or form. So it doesn't really surprise me that Renegade and Hasbro have kind of been working together behind the scenes or with a lot of different properties in general. So I'm excited to see what they do. I kind of wish that the Heroescape minis were pre-painted because that's how they came in the original.
That is true. Game. Yeah.
So I don't know. I know what me. I'll probably pick it up.
So we'll get him on and do a review later, Eric. That'll be fun. Yeah, and I can't paint minis because that would not be a good idea.
I try to. I'm an okay painter. I'll admit I'm not like spectacular. I'm one of those guys that I'm good with just getting some paint on it, just getting some color on it, because more than likely I'm going to be handling it, and I don't want it to be a showcase piece, because if anything were to happen to it and I spent hours upon hours or days on something, and then it would just it would not.
Or someone broke the sword, you'd be like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
So, which I can't. I would be the one to break the sword. See, I describe myself as I can't play with minis and terrain because I'm the person when he tells himself, okay, be careful, don't knock this over, I just swipe everything off the table. So like digital maps are what make terrain accessible for me. I'm like, I literally put a TV on the table and like, okay, here's your tokens. Like, what about the other stuff? It's like, no, I like my walls. Thanks. Physical dice and digital maps. I'm good.
That's awesome.
I literally, I'm like, and just everything everywhere. Like if I tell myself, and I know it's coming, I have to be careful with this while I'm carrying it out the kitchen. Something's going on the floor.
Yeah.
It just, brain does not work well. So you do that, and then you do some live stream actual plays.
So we do interviews, we do actual plays. Sometimes I just give my like a talking head video as to what I think of a campaign or a project. But yeah, we do a lot of actual plays. I love doing actual plays because I've got a great team of collaborators that come on, and some of them will run systems, some of them will play in systems, and I've got a good. I think at this point we've got probably 8 or 9 regulars at this point.
Oh wow!
That come on, and I think that they're sorry.
We hear the motorcycle go in the background.
Yeah. They're all spectacular, and I've always said this. I've said this a few times that like whenever you're not really good at something, what do? You bring people in that are much better than you. So I feel like they're the ones that elevate the actual plays. So then that way, they kind of mask over the fact that maybe I'm not quite the superstar of those.
I mean, everybody takes to tell the story their own way.
That's right.
I was watching your live stream last night a little bit. Can you describe it a little bit? It was an interesting concept.
So we did an actual play of Broken Tales, Broken Tales is from an Italian publisher called The World Anvil Publishing. They do a D6 system, which is very, very interesting. I kind of call it a reverse year zero engine system. It's called the Monad Echo system. It's a D6 system where you can roll as many D6s as you want. And anything that comes up not a 1 is a success. And usually there's like a standard difficulty. There's an easy difficulty level, which is 3 successes. There's a standard difficulty or medium difficulty, which is 5. And then there's a hard difficulty, which is 7. And basically, if you roll as many D6s as you want, but if you roll any 1s, it doesn't matter. Any 1s at all, your roll fails.
Oh, that's the way that like the magic system works in Easy D6.
Okay.
So you can do 1, 2, or 3. You can do 1, 2, or 3 dice to try to hit your target, but any 1 causes the spell to fail.
Okay,
that's a fascinating concept. Okay,
I really kind of dig it. I'm not sure if I love it, but I think it's interesting, and like I want to play around with it more because I think it creates some different creates some different situations. But it's Broken Tales. Broken Tales is it's like an alternate fairy tale setting where the villains kind of are this part of the society called hunters, and they fight against like these bad creatures in like this mythical European like late 1700s settings, and what we would traditionally think of the good guys in the fairy tale setting are actually like the bad guys. So it's almost like you know how Disney has kind of made those where they've redone those live action movies where you're like, oh, you kind of view the villain in a different light. Where like, oh, maybe they kind of have a reason for being the way they are. And that's kind of how this game is. It's it kind of turns things upside down, and I really enjoy it. The art's amazing. I'm going to tell you right now, Wes. As much as we've been talking about Swedish RPG publishers, Italian RPG publishers are where it's at right now. There's some amazing studios that are making some really cool stuff. So keep your eye out because I can probably name 3 of them off the top of my head that are just
But are they as metal as Swedish developers?
They're probably not as metal, but they definitely are into like the whole artist. Like they are very much like into art. They want a really nice presentation. They kind of remind me of what Free League was doing early on, and I think you're gonna see a lot more studios pop up. And
that's the one that you're talking about is World Anvil.
The World Anvil Publishing. Yeah.
All right.
They did Broken Tales, and they did another Kickstarter that I think was just on. Was it on GameFound? I think it was. I backed it. It's called Dead Air Seasons. It's a very Last of Us kind of RPG. Okay. So it was it looked that's what caught my eye with them, and then I kind of like, oh, what else did they do? And then they did this Broken Tales thing. And they're doing a Kickstarter now for some more content for that game. So
like I keep like my Kickstarter funds are like an all-time low, and I keep I'm trying to eke out this next one and then this one. I'm like, and then I'm gonna get a YouTube payment in 2 months, so maybe I can afford it. Like it's this. I hear you. I would like to pick up some of these smaller developers and kind of prop them up a little bit.
Well, the best thing I'm going to tell folks that even if you can, I don't know what everybody's financial situations are, but I know that even if you back at a PDF level, that means a lot to a publisher because
there's no shipping costs.
There's no You're basically giving them money to create that game. And you still get a version of that game, but it's definitely a lot more money in their pocket than if they had to, ship you a physical copy.
Yep. I make a lot more money off of my novel. I made a lot more money, which is not at all, off the ebooks than I ever did off the print.
Yeah.
Because it's just it's pure profit from that, which is interesting. And there's no printing cost. That's really it's everybody remember that. You're not
But I
daunting
say
thing. But
that, and then I've got bookshelves upon bookshelves
well,
of
I
dead
mean,
tree, products in back of me. So but I have been trying to curb some of my like I save the physical pledges for like if I'm really really in love with something.
I am kicking myself because I wish I would have gotten a physical rule book for Shadow Dark, and I only
Ah,
got the PDF because I did really enjoy that. But I did get the physical for Swords and Wizardry,
okay,
the
yeah,
2E that just came out, which is they did a really good job with that.
nice.
And I'm also I did a confession this morning that I'm way behind in all my reviews. Like I got Forbidden Lands for Christmas and I still not reviewed it. I got Coriolis last Christmas and still haven't reviewed it. So I'm trying to I have to stop buying things until I catch up on my reviews. And yesterday or gosh, would have been Monday, I went to a friendly local gaming store and picked up Blades in the Dark.
Oh yes.
So, or
Oh,
not Blades,
that's
excuse me,
such
not Blades in the Dark, Scum and Villainy, Blades
okay.
in the
Yep.
Dark in Space.
Sure.
So I'm like, well, I have to confess, I just picked this up. So, but it's literally sitting in a shrink wrap until I finish Numenera Destiny to, to actually get through. Like, that's going to be my reward.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that they're doing that. And that now I understand the concept. So I understand why in that live stream you had Baba Yaga in the party.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So we
So
had who did we have? We had Krampus, Baba
yeah,
Yaga.
that's awesome.
I'm trying to think who else. Who else did we have? We had the big bad wolf from the Three Little Pigs.
Nice.
I'm trying to think who else. There was four of them. Oh, and then there was like a knight, and I can't remember what fairy tale he was from.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So we had Baba Yaga as one of the hunters, as one of the player characters, and
Okay.
yeah, they get to. They went outside, and they're like, "Hey, is my hut like in the,
That's where I turned off.
following us in the shadows?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? Let's make that happen because
That's
I'm one of those
awesome.
DMs or GMs that definitely, if you come up with a good idea, okay, sure, let's run with it."
That's like the best when that happens. I
Right?
did it one time with my 5e group. We got done last in December, and they decided to just go off on their own and go to an inn and like, do I see any locals? And I went, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. There's four locals sitting over in a corner. He's like, well, are there any women? It's like, yeah, sure. All four of them are women. And they bumped into the Golden Girls. It was just like you're going through, and like one of them
I
like got
love it.
invited
I
up
love it.
to Blanche's room. So it was a lot of fun. But that's the type of insanity that just makes role playing games the best.
Right. That's the stuff that you live for because that's the stuff that you're gonna remember afterwards. Like last night, I had my players bump into an NPC and like on the just like as I was playing, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make this character Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
And so it wasn't in the adventure at all. It wasn't in the quick start at all. But I'm
Okay.
just like, okay, sure, let's run. Like it just popped into my mind, and I just ran with it. And I was just trying to be as ridiculous as possible because why not? Because
That's the
that's
best.
what you
And
do.
that's where the stories come from. And that what was
Exactly.
interesting. So I went back then, and I hadn't played a TTRPG or not a tabletop, but a RPG on computer game for years. I just didn't have time. I had kids, and
Hmm.
I went to go play Octopath Traveler, and I
Okay.
got so frustrated because you're like you have to. It was you talk about being railroaded. Like,
Yeah.
nope, you have to get through this railroad before you can do anything, and then you still have to stay on the railroad. And these NPCs only say this type of thing, and I'm going, but I can do anything with my tabletop games. Like that's so much more fun,
Right. Right.
and that was kind of an interesting experience for me.
I
Mm.
love when you're introducing new players to role playing games,
Uh-huh.
and they have that moment where they
Mhm.
realize that they can do anything. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. I live for that. Like, and then
Mhm.
that's when you're just like, okay, you've got this. Like, let's roll. Like it's and I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah,
Like that's the best
those
part.
are those are great moments. Wait, I can I do that? Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, what do I roll? I don't know. Just tell me what you're going to do. We'll figure it out.
exactly. Like
So,
that's the way I am with as a GM. Like, if you can make a case as for how you're doing it, go for it. Go for it. Let's make it happen.
All right, we got
Or
a couple
not,
of
you know?
or not. Yes. Or I can end you. It's fun.
Yeah,
Couple comments from that.
sure.
Going for all from Eric. Eric is busy on the chat tonight. He usually is, and I don't think I missed anybody else. So Eric wants to know, what if I'm rolling a bunch of D6s and roll a natural Yahtzee? Is that a crit?
I mean,
Well,
it
it is
depends.
now.
Yeah, I mean, it usually is. Like, it depends on the system, but you know.
Gosh, can we do that? Because you can't copyright.
So speaking, okay, so
Yeah,
Wes, I'm gonna keep going back. There's another Italian publisher.
you're really like
I'm big on this. I'm gonna tell your audience, like, this. Be on the lookout. There's another Italian publisher called Two Little Mice.
Two Little Mice.
Okay. They just did a Kickstarter called Outgunned.
Okay.
And they have a Kickstarter. They did a Kickstarter for a game called Household. They actually use a D6 dice pool system that, like Eric said, where if you roll Yahtzee, it's basically you to succeed, you roll pairs, 3 of a kinds, 4 of a kinds, 5 of a kinds, and that depends on the the level of success. So what Eric just said would, yes, totally work in their games. Because if you rolled 5 of a kind, you basically get to do whatever the heck you want.
That's awesome. So there, Eric, you got Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't call it Yahtzee. We could just use a mechanic. So this is anything but Yahtzee, and that apparently that's successful in not violating copyright, which is fun. That's actually really cool. So that's Two Blind Mice.
It's two little mice.
Two Little Mice. Okay.
Yeah, they're doing some really great stuff. I'm gonna again, another really great publisher.
Yeah, you need to send me this on messages.
I will send you the link.
And I'll be like, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah.
And then the other one is, I don't know if you played a game where initiative's always been on.
Also, could Doug or Wes explain how initiative being on all the time? I tried to explain it to my group but failed. I
mean, I can take a stab at it. Have you played any games that did that?
I don't know. Like, I'm not familiar with that term, to be honest with you.
Index Card RPG uses it.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm looking at another comment Eric just made. Index Card RPG uses it, and Shadow Dark both use it.
Okay.
So you roll initiative, and it goes clockwise from whoever wins initiative.
Okay.
Around the table, and it's always on. And essentially, it's a very freewheeling, because it's not supposed to be a rigid concept, and this is something that I think a lot of folks don't quite get. It's basically a way to make sure that the spotlight gets shifted to everybody, and so that everybody gets a turn to be in the spotlight.
Okay, sure.
And there's no time limit on it. Like, the spotlight is wherever it's natural to shift the spotlight, you shift it.
Yeah.
So for folks who like to be, I enjoy being the center of attention, they get to do that for a little bit.
And then it goes
and then you go, okay, we're going to take a break. Let's go to you, which is, I mean, good GMs do that anyway, right? At a table, like, you're making sure this is just kind of like, now we do it in order. And I think the trip over that people have is, well, what if I ask an NPC a question and it's not your turn in the initiative? You can't respond. Like, and that's not how it works. It's literally just the spotlight. So your players your characters can interact. You can interact with NPCs. There's back and forth. So it's not supposed to be rigid. It's just supposed to keep the flow of the game moving, so that the spotlight is on everybody and everybody gets a chance to shine.
So
that's essentially what it means.
Would you say it's like a camera frame where somebody's in frame?
Yep.
But somebody else would be speaking out of frame, but it would still affect the person that's in frame at the moment. But it never really shifts from that person that's in frame.
Yep. You hear, or even. No, I think that's actually the best way to put it. No, that is really good. It's like an off-camera, like you become off-camera voices, like you're in frame and these people are talking. So I feel like I have videos from PAX-U where I'm talking to people and I'm off camera and my voice is heard. That's kind of what it is. But it's not my initiative, so I'm not on camera.
Right. And then once it is your initiative, you flip it around. The camera comes to you.
Yep. And I've played it exactly one session because I did my live stream actual play of Shadow Dark with it. We tried out the system with the quick start rules. I think my players were okay with it. I loved it
Nice.
because it really helped me to keep things flowing, and it was where I really thought it shined or shone was with the introduction of the characters, because they did not start all together.
Okay.
So we got to
Nice.
change the spotlight to introduce how they're entering into the town where they were going to take up their adventure for the evening, and I thought that really worked well. So
Nice.
that's always on initiative, Eric, for that. And now Eric wants to know if he wants to see me stream a game where I yell Yahtzee, or stream a session where I yell Yahtzee, which I'll have to do that. Eric just asked, follow up on the initiative. Does initiative change each time there's combat? Yes. So every time there's a dramatic change in the action, combat being the biggest one, you would change initiative, just to keep things from being stale, but also because that changes the order of where the creatures are going to go in combat, or the adversaries are going to go in combat. So there's a little bit of chaos there with that. So yeah, you change it at the beginning of combat for that. And what if someone rolls initiative? Do they go last all the time? Yeah, I mean they do until you change initiative, because once you get out of combat, you re-roll initiative again and start it. So it's whenever there's a dramatic change, and the GM can call it. So if you say, okay, we're entering into this wizard's tower, re-roll initiative, and so now you get to change again. And then if you're me, you always go last, because I'm terrible. That was the idea. And I don't remember this game. Do you remember an old PC game called Wizardry?
I don't remember it.
I do not either. That is not one that I am familiar with.
I'll have to Google it later.
Yeah, put it on chat later, Eric, if you want to talk about it. That's what we got. That's really cool stuff. So you've brought up Italian publishers, and you're not just vying for a trip to Italy.
No. I'm going to tell you right now. So there's Acheron, there's Two Little Mice, there's the World Anvil Publishing. I'm trying to think of, Francesco Nepatello's from who is the lead designer for the One Ring. He's from Italy.
Okay.
Like there's some, I'm telling you right now, like don't sleep on Italy right now, because they're about to make some big waves in this tabletop role playing game.
All right, that's cool. Space. All right, we'll see. I'm really interested in that now. That game you were playing last night, I really want to check out. So
they get free quick start. You should check that. Yeah,
I will check out the free. Yeah. I have too many games.
I know.
I don't have time. I still haven't reviewed Avatar or Forbidden Lands or Coriolis or Mutant Crawl Classics or Dungeon Crawl Classics.
It's one of those. It's one of those things.
Number.
I buy a lot of books just to kind of read how the system works. That's even if I don't get a chance to play it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. I love that how that works. I wonder how I can incorporate that into something that I've got going on. That I'll have to be played coming up.
And that's one of the things that kept me from jumping back into the system for so long, or into the hobby for so long. Because if you watch my intro video on the channel, you see that I was like, well, I want this game and this game and this game and this game and this game. I never played any of them because I didn't have anybody to play with. This was pre-internet, right? I'm back in the 80s and I was just a nerd on my own. But I knew that once I jumped in, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to see that and that and that and this over here and over here. And I'm going to go back and collect the editions of D&D I missed. And that's kind of where I am now. Although I do have the benefit that occasionally a publisher will send me a review copy that saves me like $100. I'm like, thank you. That's nice. I'll do a good review for you, it's been a lot of fun. I want to thank you so much for coming on and chatting. It's been a really fun for me. I wanted to thank you so much for treating me with such kindness at PAX U. And if folks will come and check out your channel more from this, that makes me happy.
I appreciate and I'm honored that you asked me to come on, Wes, because I love your story, and I love the fact that you got back into this whole tabletop hobby because unfortunately we had to go through a pandemic, but you know what? There are, as much as it was horrible, it led people to some very good things, being able to connect with people online, picking up hobbies, things that they enjoy now that they probably didn't have, they didn't enjoy previously, that, and I think a lot of us have been able to put things in perspective and appreciate things a lot more. And I think, it's unfortunate that it all had to happen, but it's also really great to see that there's folks like you that are enthusiastic about this hobby, and that want to get more people involved in it and share their enthusiasm with it. Because, I think that's what, at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We just want people to have fun and create experiences and have a good time.
And tell stories.
Exactly.
Like, let them, and tell emergent stories. Like, let them happen as things change. And that's, to me, that's the most exciting thing about a tabletop role-playing game, which is fun, especially when we were in a time where, like, the story was told for us.
Yeah.
Like, we were stuck in lockdown. That's the story. Let's tell our own story. And that's what we did. And I really am grateful that the hobby was still around for me to get back into. So it was very, very good. All right. I got one last question for you.
Sure.
And I asked you this at PAX U, and I don't know if you remember, but so I love the simplicity and the elegance of the Year Zero engine. And I do love how they've tweaked it as the games have gotten into different genres. And the fact that you included a D12 in the Forbidden Land set. Because everybody needs a dice that you can throw at someone and do damage.
Sure.
It's one of those things. But reading Mutant Year Zero, one of the things that really always kind of bothered me is that I just was afraid that all the numbers between 1 and 6 were going to be feeling left out.
Okay.
So have you ever been worried that 2 through 4 or 2 through 5 were ever just going to, like, do a revolt and come after Free League for relegating them to uselessness?
They might. I don't know. I mean, they're still on the dice, though, so I mean, we haven't taken them off permanently, so I mean, at least they're getting some notice. We could have just made them blank sides. So
I just want to do a YouTube video now of, like, people dressed up as 6-sided dice. Like, yeah, I got a 2. I'm like, yay! He's like, but you don't matter. No, like you're irrelevant. Just good. That's one thing I always thought that was absolutely hysterical. Is that all these other numbers are like, but we don't matter anymore. I'm like, oh, go play Monopoly. You're fine.
I mean, so, some of the especially with Year Zero, there's so many roll charts.
That is true. You do have to.
You could roll 2d6 and still use the numbers for reference to those charts. So they're not totally irrelevant, but yeah, I totally, yeah.
It's just one of those things. Like, I was like, when you're sleep deprived and are stressed, you're like, I thought about this. I think that's funny. I'll bring it up.
Absolutely.
Which is good. And really, thank you so much for coming on. I want to give you, if you got any other final thoughts to folks who might be interested in picking up a new game or trying a new system.
I'm just going to tell folks that, be a positive force in this hobby and try to, like, if you're excited about something, try to introduce it to someone that maybe might not have heard of it or may not be familiar with it, because that's how this hobby grows. This is how this side of things grow, because we can run all sorts of ads and on social media and put up posters at conventions and whatnot, but the real thing that sells these games to people are our friends that refer us to these games, and if that one person loves a game because of something that you introduce them to, that's a huge step. I mean, you don't think that matters, but it does. Everybody that does that just keeps growing and growing the hobby, and we appreciate that. As publishers, I know we appreciate that a lot, and so. Yeah, just awesome. And if you haven't tried a tabletop RPG,
you gotta try.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Yeah, it's sometimes it's kind of awkward at first, but we've all been there. And once you get it, it's some of the best experiences that you'll have at a table. Like in my opinion, I think it's just a lot of fun, and there's not really any winners. There's not really any losers, except for if you're playing Alien. But even when you lose, you win in that game. But
Yeah.
But I think the world. I think we need more of that. I think we need more collaborative storytelling and more experiences like that to appreciate. But anyway, yeah, I don't know.
I think that's good, and I think you hit something on the head. This is one of the last industries that fan community conversation drives the industry.
Oh, it's totally, it's 100% that. And I've worked in some very large markets and some very large industries, and I'll tell you what, they're competitive, they're cutthroat, and one of the reasons why I love the tabletop industry is because that, yes, I do a lot of work for Free League, but I also work with a lot of other publishers just in my spare time, just to kind of see them succeed. Because guess what? Seeing them succeed also helps us succeed. It helps this other person succeed. Because you know what? Someone might find their game first, really love it, and then move on to another game. Like, so, it only just keeps building onto each other. This is the only industry that is like, okay, rising tides raises all ships.
All ships, yeah. And just the fact that you are a Free League employee, but you review other systems or talk to other folks from other game developers, and you're not told, hey, you have to stop that.
No,
people
they
don't realize
it.
how huge that is.
I hope that other, I know that it creates sometimes it creates awkward situations.
Sure.
But I hope that all the publishers that I deal with know that, like, I'm not looking, like, I just want to see them succeed. Like, that's
right.
A lot of times it's like people that I get to know, like, and a lot of times what happens is I'll work with these publishers and I'll check in with them, 3 or 4 months down the road and be like, hey, how are things going? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm just here to, like, get content and try to promote your Kickstarter and get clicks and views and everything. It's like, no, I genuinely try to care. Like, I genuinely care. Like, I want to see these folks succeed.
Yeah.
And hopefully we have this kind of relationship where it's like, we just kind of, I can kind of help them, not me, but hopefully, I can provide something that helps them get more noticed.
Yeah. And I think that's important. That's a great spot to stop the conversation. When we're working with these folks, what makes the industry great is the fact that the friendships around the table is also what exists a lot of times in the industry.
Exactly.
Not always.
No.
But a lot of times. And I think that's what makes this such a unique and wonderful space. And we're grateful to be part of it. I'm very grateful for you to be here tonight.
I'm grateful as well.
And thank you, everybody, for chatting. I'm going to hit the close in a little. Doug, stay on the line for a second just so I can say goodbye.
Sure.
Folks, I will be back not this Thursday, but the Thursday after. I don't know what date that is because ever since COVID, time has no meaning anymore. But I'll be talking with John Fredericks of Sharp Mountain Games. He is the one who authored the Dwarven Pickup Truck, which is one of the funniest modules I have read in a very long time. And I've been looking forward to talk to him for a very long while. And we'll do that right before summer break hits. So until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone. Bye.